Welcome back to the Future Quake Show. I am Dr. Future.
And I am Tom Bionic.
And you know it's Friday, so what does that mean? It's time for what?
A nap?
Not a nap. That's for our listeners during this hour.
Oh.
It's tomorrow's Tremors,
yes.
or today's review of the Future's news.
Yes.
As you've said many times, I'm the one who worries about details like the names of our show.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm just trying to be funny because I have nothing to add when it comes to anything.
I have never described you that way.
I know you haven't, but
in fact, you won't even see like a little excerpt
let me
on
tell
our
you,
radio
when
station.
it comes down to people working hard for stuff, Mr. Future here, Dr. Future here stands alone. This guy works so hard for this.
Well, thank you for saying that. You don't have to say that.
Well, yeah, but
people get their money.
You're right.
For it.
You're right. I don't have to.
All their hard-earned money buying for this. They get
I don't
what
have
they
to
pay
say
for.
anything, but I feel it needs to be said, so I'm saying it.
Well, Tom, that is very, very kind of you, and that's a real encouragement. And that's just like our listeners when they email us and tell us that we're being a blessing to them.
In fact, you know what?
It's just nice to hear that even
from
my old buddy, my old co-host.
Well, I'd like to say this. Why don't we have an internet contest where people can email us and tell us what they like most about the show and Dr. Future?
If it's a contest, what are the rules? How do they measure
the people that
the judge scoring criteria?
You're right. Well, we're going to get a bunch of French and Russian judges to exchange votes for
I hear a lot of
medals.
Whistling going on.
Yeah, like if we vote good in the hockey, they'll hold our speed skaters up.
So this is like liberal arts stuff. This is all going to be subjective kind of thing.
Oh yes. There is no criterion. The criterion is I would just like to hear people encourage Dr. Future.
Well, thank you for saying that.
That's all I want people to do.
People have done that much, and I want to thank you much for that because we're just like a hip little rat pack here between you and me and our guests and our listeners.
And Pyro,
who joins us frequently.
Yeah.
And so we have a mutual admiration society, and we'd like to make that circle bigger. So one of the best things you could do is not only to email us, but to even maybe drop a line. It's only if you have something nice to say.
Yeah.
To WENO. And let them know what you think about it.
Yes, if you have something nice to say.
If it's something bad, just send it to us. Just vent on us.
Yeah. We'll be your foil for the negativity.
And also, another thing that you could do is to get everybody to listen and try to spread the word. We want to go viral.
As much as I don't know what to say about that, but
did I use that hip word right?
You did use the hip word. You did.
I'm like that cop on Sanford and Son that tried to get the words and he'd say gravy instead of groovy.
Gravy, baby.
Yeah.
I'm going to start using that now.
Yeah.
Gravy, baby. Gravy.
Yeah. Well, we've got some stories. Anything, other comments you got?
That's it.
At the time of this recording, the Democratic convention is going on.
Mm-hmm.
As of this date, this is going to sound like Dr. Past, but we don't know yet the Republican nominee. The folks listening right now do.
Mm-hmm.
But we will be very curious to see the world that we're living in after the time we're recording this.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about some news that's newsworthy right now as of this point in time.
Yes.
Would you like to go first? Or would you like me to?
Well, I would like... What do you want to do?
I want to please you.
No. You're the guy who works hard on all
Read
this.
a story.
All right, there you go. Fannie Freddie collapse catastrophic.
Okay. Now, for all of our non-financial geek people, explain what Fannie Freddie is.
Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are mortgage finance companies that are really, really, really big.
They're pseudo-government almost. The government's sort of established and they sort of act like they're private.
Well, they were I can't say for sure in both of them, but at least one of them was started to bring affordable housing, loans for affordable housing for people. And they've since sort of walked away from that mandate and have kind of just been clearing houses for whatever mortgage they could get a hold of.
It's a very socialistic type arrangement where
it's a little weird.
They pretend that they're private. In some ways, they compete with the private industry, but they're government-backed.
Yes.
But I understand there's a story from Bloomberg, which is a major newswire for financial news, that there's a major investment person that's saying, when this collapses, it's all going to break loose.
Yeah. And in fact, we're getting to that. A failure of U.S. mortgage finance companies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, could be a could be catastrophic for the global financial system, says Yu Yongding, a former advisor to the Chinese central bank. That's what I say.
All right.
Yeah. Now, just to inform our listeners a little bit more, what happens a lot is these sovereign wealth funds. They've bought a lot of stock and securities.
Now, is that a pool of money actually run by heads of state of other countries?
Yes.
Okay.
As near as I can figure, I haven't looked into that too much, but I believe they are.
Yeah, they've actually got the wherewithal. China's a big one.
Yes. I know that I was looking into Russia's investment into Fannie Mae because I think it might have something to do with our current conflab over there with Georgia, Russia, and us backing everybody. Currently, 1/6 of their entire M3 and 4X money supplies is tied up in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
So is that the best hope we have that they won't nuke us, is that it would ruin their investments here?
Well, probably not the best hope, but it is something something at least the listeners should consider a little bit.
Okay. What does he? I think he said some pretty provocative things here.
Oh, yes, he does.
Okay.
If the U.S. government allows Fannie and Freddie to fail and international investors are not compensated adequately, the consequences will be catastrophic. You said in emailed answers to questions yesterday. If it is not the end of the world, it is the end of the current international financial system. Freddie and Fannie shares touched 20-year lows yesterday on speculation that a government bailout will leave the stocks worthless. Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson won approval for the U.S. Congress last month to pump unlimited amounts of capital into the companies in an emergency, which is awfully socialistic.
Which means they're just going to shake us down for the money, since they don't have any personal money. It's just ours.
Somebody's going to pay for it, and it ain't going to be Henry Paulson.
It'd be like taking your no-count relative and giving them your credit card, and they're doing whatever they see fit, but it's really you paying the bills.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a very good analogy.
Except that probably is an insult to no-count relatives to compare them to these figures.
You're going to have to write a book of sayings.
Okay.
China's $376 billion of long-term U.S. agency debt is mostly in Fannie and Freddie assets, according to James McCormick, head of Asian sovereign ratings at Fitch Ratings Limited in Hong Kong. The Chinese government probably holds the bulk of that amount, according to McCormick. Wow. That's a lot of money. Industrial and Commercial Bank of China yesterday reported a $2.7 billion holding. Bank of China Limited may have many as $20 billion, according to CLSA Limited, the Hong Kong-based investment banking arm of France's Credit Agricole SA. CLSA puts the exposure of the 6 biggest Chinese banks at $30 billion. That's a lot of money.
Okay.
The seriousness of such failures could be beyond the stretch of people's imagination, said Yu, a professor at the Institute of World Economics and Politics at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences in Beijing. He didn't explain why he held the view. I think that about covers it.
Okay.
Right there.
So it sounds like this is the cornerstone of a house of cards in our world economic system. Something as innocuous as this, a lot of people in our public don't even know about them. Mm-hmm. But if it comes down, we have international experts saying it's going to upset every economic structure.
Well, I do counterbalance.
All tied together.
I do counterbalance that statement with the fact that China, in my experience and from what I've seen and observed, tends to negotiate in what's called the Soviet style of negotiation, where they blow everything out of proportion, walk away from the table several times, and with the idea that they can get a better deal when the other person tries to appease their radical behavior.
That's the same way I buy a car.
Well, that's the same way I order food, like at Wendy's.
Is that right?
Yeah, they go,
you barter for food?
That'll be $5.96 for that number 3, and I go, and upend the counter.
Yeah,
I walk out. And
you make your own extra value menu?
Yes.
Amazing.
I've actually had them pay me to get out.
You just don't know what they do to your food behind the counter, which you can't see.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
That's amazing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're making light of something that could be catastrophic. A lot of people don't even understand that countries like China, one of their most effective strategies to overcome us is not to shoot missiles at us, but to just not buy our debt anymore. If they decided one day, we're not going to buy your debt, we have gotten so used to knowing that they're there at the end of the counter to hand us money whenever we need it. I mean, if you think it's bad, if you need to regularly get loans and suddenly none of the banks will give you money, that's the state our country is as I understand it, with China.
Well,
we always assume China's there to buy it.
Well, the people in the know seem to me to be sort of predicting not when the economy is going to crash, but how far, because it's already a given that, you know, we're looking for to steal a phrase from our guest Mish. We're looking at a very long, very deep, very steep L-shaped recession.
L means it drops straight down and then stays flat for a long time, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think what he actually meant was like a backslash. I believe on the radio he said that it would just sort of, you know, keep going down. It wasn't necessarily. He wasn't predicting a catastrophic drop.
What about like an ampersand recession? What would that look like?
Well, we could always do like a tilde recession, or you know,
or asterisks.
Yeah,
recession.
or a pound key recession.
Okay, now we're getting silly.
Yeah.
We don't want.
We're sorry, folks. This is a very serious issue.
We don't want to get that precedent.
I recommend that
you
know you can look up some of this stuff at globaleconomicanalysis.blogspot.com. Read on,
or listen to Mish on our show at Future Clip as well too. This is going to affect everybody, so we want you to be aware of it.
Yeah,
I've got a story, a quick one. NSA, National Security Agency, wants to kill bloggers. A national security officer says we should just kill these people. This is from the Op-Ed News, and this is from some information that came from Wayne Madsen, who is a premier-level investigative reporter. He's independent in Washington, and he is so good and so capable of giving information that he can charge significant sums of money to do investigative work for other news wires to get the stuff.
Wow, that's good.
He knows his stuff. He's highly regarded, and he gets the scoop.
That's good.
But it says Wayne Madsen has an executive level NSA, or National Security Agency, which is like the CIA, only more secretive and more powerful. He has a NSA staff person on record saying that significant sentiment exists within the NSA to kill troublesome bloggers and journalists.